Okay, hello and welcome back. We are going to be doing a review of the Spider-Man recent movie, Far From Home. I will be discussing some spoilers and so on, but at the beginning, there's not going to be any real spoilers, just a very generic review, and then I'll let you know when I get into spoilers and give you a chance to turn off if that's what you so desire. So, first and foremost, and I think this is the important bit, it is worth seeing. It's actually, it's a pretty good movie. I had very low expectations for this movie. I did not enjoy Homecoming at all, except for Michael Keaton's performance in that. So this was, it came as a surprise that I found it so enjoyable and such a fun movie. So, it is worth watching, and you can watch it, make your own decisions. So the one thing that kind of was reinforced when I saw it, that I did not care for, and I had the same issue with Homecoming, was the changes to, the people, Spider-Man's friends, basically. Now, and it's not just a question of them looking very different from how they looked in the comics, but it's also that they act and behave very differently. So, I became aware during the movie was that Spider-Man's friend Ned was actually supposed to be Ned Leeds. I had no idea. I'd seen him in like 2 movies previously, and it's, only partway through this movie that I realized he was Ned Leeds. And I only realized that when he started showing interest in Betty Bryant. Or Betty Brant. I always forget which one it is. Regardless, it's that. And I think, at least for someone who's read a lot of the old school comics like I have, and who's an old school comic book fan of Spider-Man, that I think can be problematic, that I don't recognize an actual character because they look so different and because they act so different. If it was just a physical thing and him just looking different but acting exactly the same as he did in the comics, I'd immediately recognize him. So, but that's really kind of a personal thing. So I think the end result is, yeah, go see it. It is, surprisingly enough, worth seeing. So that thus ends the spoiler-free review, which is go see it. So we're going to pause here, right here for a second, so you can turn off. Ooh, skyline. Okay. So now we're going to get into kind of the spoilers of the Spider-Man Far From Home. And kind of ask the question. So first and foremost, we'll start. One of the reasons I really liked this was because I've always liked Mysterio as a villain. I've always thought he was a great villain. Some people agree, some people disagree, and that's fine. But the movie got him perfect. I was a little bit nervous about Jake Gyllenhaal being cast in the role. I just thought he was too good looking to be Mysterio. Mysterio was he was kind of like an average looking guy. That was kind of part of his whole thing, is when you get him out of the fishbowl, he looked like a normal guy. But that being said, they had Mysterio down perfect, and I think that was really a good moment. You get halfway through it, and then suddenly the illusion starts to break down after Peter Parker leaves, and I just said, yes, they did do it. They did do it. It was perfect. One thing I predicted a long time ago about this movie, which a lot of people debated because, it was such a great direction to take the MCU, was that I thought that the multiverse theory would be a deception of Mysterio, at least in this movie. And a lot of people said, no, it's such a great place to take the MCU. And I think that's one of the reasons why it worked as a deception in this. I just kind of, had a feeling Mysterio would be from this dimension, and it'd all be an illusion. So I called that one. Now, that doesn't mean that they aren't going to introduce the multiverse in a later storyline or episode. Well, not episode, movie. Sorry, I'm getting distracted by my really cool new suit. I actually like this suit better than the previous Spider-Man suit, and part of the reason I do is because, Peter Parker actually built this suit. He may have used Stark Tech to build it, but it's his suit that he built. The other suits were all Tony Stark building for him. So I think it's good that Spider-Man's claiming his own suit in this. So another point for Mysterio, since I got distracted by the wonderful suit, was his first illusion for Peter Parker. That was spot on Mysterio. It was straight from the comics. It was just messing with Peter Parker's head, and it was such a great moment in it. So, yeah, the movie was very much worth it. Mysterio as the villain was very much worth it for those sequences. So, that's really the main reason I really liked it. Like I said, it's worth seeing. I want to talk a little bit about the consequences of this movie. So before I saw the movie, somebody had posted a few reviews. There have been reviews and so on posted of this, and one of the titles compared the Far From Home to Spider-Man 2, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man 2, which was a superb movie, by the way, saying it was essentially a remake of that. I didn't get that vibe at all. I can understand where they're coming from, why they have that idea, but I don't. Just as a matter of practicality, I don't think that's an accurate assessment of it. I think it's actually, if you're going to call it a remake of anything, I think it's actually closer to Iron Man as a film, and I think that was done deliberately. They are, they're setting up a new, I don't want to say phase, but a new MCU. They're setting up the next phase, next generation, or whatever of the MCU, and they're painting Spider-Man kind of in the same role that Tony Stark had, in the, Iron Man type role. And so the movie, of course, resembles the original Iron Man movie because of that. And down to, Spider-Man screwing up, giving, the tech that he'd been trusted with falling into the hands of villains is very similar to some of the stuff that's happened with Tony Stark, with his technology falling into the wrong hands, and him becoming more of a hero, in the realization that, hey, I need to prevent this stuff from getting out there. That comparison, and that they did that, and I think that's very, very true. Or I think that's a very well, I'm agreeing with myself, basically. I think that's a good comparison. I think they did a good job making him out to be Iron Man. Like I said, I have very low expectations for this movie, for this entire next phase. And this movie, I think, has done a good job of allaying a lot of my fears, to the point where I won't just avoid all MCU movies from now on. I'm going to check them out, and hopefully they will continue to be good. So before I go, I want to talk about the rhinoceros in the room. I'd say elephant, but rhino is a Spider-Man villain. Which was the Easter egg after the end of the initial credits. So just a quick word of warning. I was with a friend when I saw this movie, and he wanted to leave after this initial scene, and so we left. So if there's an additional Easter egg beyond the first Easter egg, I'm blaming my friend for me not having seen it. I can only report on the first Easter egg, and possibly only Easter egg, but if not, and there's more information out there like Miguel O'Hara showing up, I apologize for not having watched it all the credits all the way through. So, anyway, Easter egg, very important bit of the movie, extremely, extremely important, which was the return of J. Jonah Jameson. I mean, that's vitally important. No, speaking honestly, that was a great cameo. It was a great moment to actually have, what is his name? He was on The Closer. He's been in a lot of TV shows and movies. I can't remember the actor's name, but he played the original J. Jonah Jameson. And it was great to see him again. He really did a great job with the role. And so it was nice to see him again, and I like the idea, the possibility that he might return in future ones. So that's really good. But no, seriously, the thing was that the revelation of Spider-Man's identity at the end of that was the big thing. So I can see this going several different directions. They can do a lot with this. One, it's still an illusion of Mysterio. So Mysterio did some sort of post-hypnotic suggestions to Peter Parker, and that didn't really happen, just to mess with him. There's also a possibility that Mysterio's death was an illusion, because you can't trust anything where Mysterio's concerned, but we won't get into that. That's just really out there, and I don't think it's likely that Mysterio will show up again, but that would be a cool twist if he did. Regardless, it could still be an illusion of Mysterio's, although that doesn't seem likely. Likewise, there could be an explanation for... It could, be explained that, oh, he's not really Spider-Man, and they could use the same tech to kind of make it appear as if, Peter Parker is not Spider-Man. The same tech that Mysterio used. So it could be explained away, and he could still keep his secret identity. That's been done, actually, in a lot of comics. I think, actually, in TV versions of comics, I think the TV show Smallville did that an awful lot. They'd have... oh no, Clark's identity is revealed, and then, oh, some weird, strange sort of coincidence would happen, and, oh, the world now doesn't think that Clark is Superman. Oh, we're good, and, so it has and could be explained away. And Peter Parker's identity could be ultimately safe. The third possibility, and this is where I personally think they will go with this, is that they will do essentially what happened at the end of Iron Man. And we get back to my Iron Man comparison. In what I actually recently discovered was an ad-lib by Robert Downey Jr. At the end of Iron Man, he tells the world that he is Iron Man. He doesn't stick with the Iron Man is Tony Stark's bodyguard, which was from the comics. And that took the MCU in a completely different direction. Ooh, skull and crossbones. I just noticed that. And I could see that same thing happening. They've kind of built up Spider-Man as the next, or to put him in the same position as Tony Stark, and having his identity public would complete that transformation. And I think that's where they're going to go with this. But this does also raise lots of possibilities. And I think hardcore comic fans will be reminded of the original Civil War, where Peter Parker revealed his identity and his family suffered because of it. So I think, Peter Parker having a public identity like this, it would take the comic book in interesting directions. It would be kind of like what they did with Daredevil, I want to say late 90s, early 2000s, where his identity became public. I think it would be an awful lot like that, and very similar to how Tony Stark was a public person in the other movies. But I also, and I think with Tony's technology behind him, that would actually help keep his family safe. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a horrible, horrible thing that his identity is revealed. So anyway, that's my take. Oy. I hate it when I stumble onto a kidnapping. Anyway, that's my take on the Spider-Man Far From Home movie. Let's flip Spider-Man around so he's looking out onto the city. And let me know what you think. Like and subscribe if you like this. Let me know if you like the new suit or not, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.